It's early morning. The house is quiet. You've been awake for a few minutes, but you haven't moved yet. Not because you don't want to, but because you already know what's coming. The moment you try to swing your legs over the side of the bed, there it is. That familiar stiffness in your knees, that deep ache in your hips. Your fingers feel thick and slow, like they forgot how to move overnight. You sit on the edge of the mattress for a moment, waiting for your body to catch up with your mind, and eventually you stand, slowly, carefully, one hand on the nightstand just in case. This has become your morning ritual, not by choice, but by necessity, and maybe you've accepted it. Maybe you've told yourself this is just what getting older feels like, that stiff joints and achy mornings are simply part of the deal, that there's nothing to be done except push through and hope tomorrow is a little easier. But here's something worth considering. What if this kind of joint pain isn't as inevitable as it seems? What if the stiffness you wake up with every morning isn't just the result of time passing, but the result of something you're doing every single day without realizing it? Something as ordinary as the food on your plate. That might sound surprising. After all, we tend to think of joint problems as mechanical: wear and tear, bones grinding, cartilage thinning. And while those things are real, they don't tell the whole story. Because your joints don't exist in isolation. They're connected to your bloodstream, your immune system, your metabolism. And the food you eat affects all of those systems. Every single day, every single meal. Some foods nourish your joints. They support the cartilage, they calm inflammation, they help your body produce the fluid that keeps everything moving smoothly. But other foods do the opposite, quietly, gradually, without any warning signs at first. These aren't exotic foods. They're not rare ingredients you'd have to search for. In fact, they're probably sitting in your kitchen right now. Foods you've eaten your whole life. Foods that feel safe, familiar, even comforting. But over time, they can chip away at your joint health in ways you might not notice until the damage is already done. That's what this video is about. We're going to walk through 5 common foods and eating habits that may be silently harming your joints. We'll start with the least damaging and work our way up to the one that often causes the most trouble, yet rarely gets blamed. This isn't about making you afraid of food, it's about giving you information. Because once you understand how these foods affect your joints, you can make choices that actually support your body instead of working against it. Let's begin. Let's start with something that probably appears in your diet more often than you realize. Refined carbohydrates. These are the processed versions of grains that have had most of their fiber and nutrients stripped away during manufacturing. White bread, white rice, pasta made from refined flour, crackers, bagels, many breakfast cereals. These are staples in countless households. They're inexpensive, convenient, and easy to prepare. And for many seniors, they've been dietary mainstays for decades. But here's what happens inside your body when you eat these foods regularly. Refined carbohydrates break down into sugar very quickly. Almost as soon as they enter your digestive system, they're converted into glucose and released into your bloodstream. This causes a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. Now, your body doesn't like sudden spikes. It responds by releasing insulin to bring those levels back down. And when this happens occasionally, it's not a big deal. Your body can handle it. But when it happens repeatedly, meal after meal, day after day, something changes. Your cells start to become less responsive to insulin. Your blood sugar stays elevated for longer periods. And this creates an environment inside your body that promotes chronic low-grade inflammation. This type of inflammation doesn't feel like a sudden injury. It's not sharp or obvious. It's more like a slow simmer happening beneath the surface. And over time, it begins to affect your joints. The cartilage that cushions your bones is particularly vulnerable to this kind of inflammation. It doesn't have its own blood supply, so it depends on the surrounding fluid for nourishment and waste removal. When inflammation is present, this process becomes less efficient. The cartilage doesn't repair itself as well. It becomes thinner and more fragile. You might not feel this happening at first, but over months and years, the stiffness increases, the mobility decreases, and what once felt like a minor inconvenience becomes a daily limitation. Refined carbohydrates aren't poisonous, but when they dominate your diet, they create conditions that make it harder for your joints to stay healthy. And for many seniors, this is exactly what's happening without them ever making the connection. Salt is one of those things that seems harmless in small amounts. And truthfully, your body needs some sodium to function properly. It helps regulate fluid balance, supports nerve function, and plays a role in muscle contraction. But here's the problem. Most people eat far more salt than their bodies actually need, and much of it comes from sources they don't even think about. Processed soups, deli meats, canned vegetables, frozen dinners, bread, cheese, condiments. It adds up quickly. And when sodium intake is consistently high, your body starts to respond in ways that affect your joints. One of the first things that happens is fluid retention. Your body holds onto water to dilute the excess sodium in your bloodstream. This can lead to swelling in your hands, feet, and yes, your joints. Swollen joints don't move as freely. They feel stiff and uncomfortable. And for seniors who already have some degree of joint wear, this added pressure can make everything feel worse. But there's another layer to this. Excess sodium has been shown to promote inflammatory responses in the body. It can interfere with the function of immune cells and trigger the release of inflammatory compounds. This chronic inflammation, just like we discussed with refined carbs, creates an environment that's hostile to healthy cartilage. There's also evidence that high sodium intake may affect bone health, which is closely connected to joint function. When your bones weaken, the entire joint structure becomes less stable. The surrounding tissues have to work harder. And over time, this contributes to pain and reduced mobility. Reducing salt doesn't mean your food has to taste bland. Herbs, spices, citrus, and vinegar can all enhance flavor without adding sodium. But it does require paying attention to labels and making more food from scratch when possible. For seniors who are used to convenient, prepackaged meals, this can be a significant shift, but it's one that can make a real difference in how your joints feel day to day. We touched on blood sugar earlier when discussing refined carbohydrates, but added sugars deserve their own place on this list because of how prevalent they are and how directly they affect joint health. Added sugars are exactly what they sound like. Sugars that are added to foods during processing or preparation. They show up in obvious places like candy, cookies, and soda. But they also hide in foods you might not expect. Flavored yogurt, granola bars, salad dressings, pasta sauce, bread, even some savory snacks. When you consume added sugars regularly, your blood sugar levels rise, and as we discussed, this triggers insulin release and can lead to chronic inflammation over time. But there's something else that happens with sugar that's particularly harmful to joints. It's called glycation. Glycation is a process where sugar molecules attach themselves to proteins in your body. When this happens, it creates compounds known as advanced glycation end products. These compounds accumulate in tissues throughout your body, including your joints. Cartilage is made largely of collagen, which is a protein. When sugar binds to collagen, it changes the structure of the cartilage. It becomes stiffer and less resilient. It loses its ability to absorb shock and cushion movement. And once this damage occurs, it's very difficult to reverse. The accumulation of these compounds also triggers inflammatory responses. Your immune system recognizes them as problematic and tries to deal with them, which creates even more inflammation in the joint area. This process happens slowly. You won't feel it after eating a piece of cake, but over years of regular sugar consumption, the effects add up. The cartilage in your knees, hips, and fingers becomes less functional. Movement becomes more painful, and the damage often happens before you realize anything is wrong. Reducing added sugars doesn't mean eliminating all sweetness from your life. Whole fruits, for example, contain natural sugars along with fiber and nutrients that slow their absorption. But cutting back on processed sweets and sweetened beverages can significantly reduce the inflammatory burden on your joints. This category is broad, but that's precisely why it matters. Processed and packaged foods have become the foundation of many modern diets, especially for seniors living alone or those who find cooking difficult. Frozen dinners, microwave meals, boxed side dishes, packaged snacks, deli meats, hot dogs, instant noodles. These foods are designed for convenience. They're shelf-stable, easy to prepare, and often inexpensive. But they come with a cost that's not listed on the label. Most processed foods contain multiple ingredients that contribute to joint inflammation. They're typically high in refined carbohydrates, added sugars, and sodium, all of which we've already discussed. But they also contain other compounds that can affect your joints. Preservatives, artificial flavorings, and certain additives have been linked to increased inflammatory activity in the body. While the research on specific additives is still evolving, the overall pattern is clear. Diets high in processed foods are associated with higher levels of inflammation and worse outcomes for joint health. There's also the issue of what's missing from these foods. When your diet is dominated by packaged products, you're often not getting enough of the nutrients your joints need to repair and maintain themselves. Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and healthy fats that support cartilage and reduce inflammation are frequently lacking. This creates a double problem. You're consuming foods that promote inflammation while simultaneously depriving your body of the nutrients it needs to counteract that inflammation. For seniors, this can accelerate the natural aging process of the joints. What might have been mild stiffness becomes significant pain. What might have been manageable discomfort becomes a real obstacle to daily activities. The solution isn't necessarily complicated cooking. Simple meals made from whole ingredients, even basic ones, can provide far more nutritional support than their processed counterparts. But it does require a shift in mindset and perhaps some planning. Now we arrive at the most significant item on our list, the one that often causes the most harm yet rarely gets the attention it deserves. Seed oils, industrial vegetable oils. Whatever you want to call them, these fats have become absolutely ubiquitous in the modern food supply. Soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil. They're in almost everything. Salad dressings, mayonnaise, margarine, bread, crackers, chips, cookies, fried foods, restaurant meals. Even foods marketed as healthy often contain these oils as primary ingredients. For decades, these oils were promoted as heart-healthy alternatives to saturated fats. And many people, particularly those who came of age during the low-fat era, still believe they're making a good choice when they use them. But the science tells a different story, especially when it comes to joint health. These oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 isn't inherently bad. Your body needs some of it, but the ratio matters enormously. Historically, humans consumed omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in roughly equal proportions. Today, thanks largely to the prevalence of seed oils, most people consume 15 to 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3. Some estimates put it even higher. This imbalance has profound effects on inflammation. Omega-6 fatty acids, when consumed in excess, promote the production of pro-inflammatory compounds in your body. Your cells use these fatty acids to create signaling molecules that trigger and sustain inflammation. Omega-3 fatty acids, on the other hand, are used to create anti-inflammatory compounds. They help resolve inflammation and promote healing. When your diet is dominated by omega-6, your body is essentially stuck in a pro-inflammatory state. The signals that tell inflammation to calm down are overwhelmed by the signals that keep it going. For your joints, this is particularly damaging. The synovial membrane that lines your joint capsules becomes chronically inflamed. The fluid that should lubricate your joints becomes less effective. The cartilage is subjected to ongoing inflammatory assault without adequate repair processes to compensate. And here's what makes this especially insidious. These oils don't taste inflammatory. They don't cause immediate symptoms. You can eat them for years without any obvious warning signs. But all the while, they're shifting your body's biochemistry in a direction that accelerates joint breakdown, the stiffness you feel in the morning, the ache that won't go away, the gradual loss of mobility. These seed oils may be contributing far more than you ever suspected. They're also remarkably difficult to avoid. Even if you don't buy bottles of vegetable oil, you're likely consuming significant amounts through processed foods and restaurant meals. They're hidden in places you wouldn't think to look. Becoming aware of this is the first step. Reading labels carefully, cooking more meals at home with traditional fats like olive oil or butter, and reducing consumption of fried and packaged foods can all help shift the balance back in your favor. This won't undo years of damage overnight, but it can stop adding fuel to the fire. And for many seniors, that's enough to start feeling a noticeable difference. Before we close, there's one more thing worth mentioning. A small, gentle habit that may support your joints over time. It's simple. Drink more water throughout the day, but especially in the morning. This might sound too basic to matter, but consider what happens inside your joints while you sleep. Your body becomes mildly dehydrated overnight. You go 6, 7, 8 hours without any fluid intake. And your joints, which depend on synovial fluid for lubrication and cushioning, can become slightly less hydrated as a result. This is one reason why morning stiffness is so common. Your joints haven't had fresh hydration in hours. The fluid that protects them has become slightly thicker, slightly less effective. Starting your day with a full glass of water, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else, gives your body the hydration it needs to begin replenishing that fluid. This won't cure joint problems. It won't reverse years of cartilage damage, but it can help your joints feel more limber as you start your day. And over time, consistent hydration supports the ongoing health of your cartilage and connective tissues. It's a small thing, but small things add up, and when it comes to joint health, consistency matters more than perfection. We've covered a lot of ground today. 5 common foods and eating patterns that may be quietly contributing to joint pain and stiffness in seniors. Refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar and promote inflammation. Excess salt that causes swelling and inflammatory responses. Added sugars that damage cartilage through glycation. Processed foods that combine multiple harmful elements while lacking protective nutrients. And seed oils that shift your entire body toward a pro-inflammatory state. None of these foods will destroy your joints overnight, and none of them need to be eliminated completely from your life. This isn't about perfection or deprivation. It's about awareness. When you understand how food affects your joints, you can make different choices, not drastic ones, not extreme ones, just slightly better ones, more often. Over time, those choices accumulate. Just like the damage from harmful foods accumulates, so does the benefit from supportive ones. Your joints have carried you through decades of life. They've walked countless miles, climbed countless stairs, allowed you to embrace the people you love. They deserve your attention and care. And much of that care can happen at your kitchen table. If you found this information helpful, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. A friend, a spouse, a family member who's been struggling with stiff or painful joints. And if you'd like to learn more about supporting your health as you age, consider subscribing to this channel. We'll continue exploring these topics together, one step at a time. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself and take care of your joints.